Hello everyone. I posted this video earlier, but I took it down because my numbers were all off and a little hard to understand. So what I'd like to discuss is range on this revised 2021 Model S dual motor. But first I kind of have to talk about my other cars. My original 2018 Model 3 dual motor. I don't remember the range number on that, or the details, because that was quite a while ago. But I do remember I was getting about 325 watt hours per mile of efficiency. And on my 2020 Model 3 Performance, I was getting around 340 watt hours per mile. This car, I've got 3,000 miles on it now, close to 3,000 miles. And I'm getting 351 watt hours per mile, which is not far off. And the reason why the Model 3 Performance did poorly compared to the dual motor, my understanding, is because of the wheels. The 20-inch wheels on that car made a big difference over the 19s, supposedly. I had the 19s on the dual motor, and then the Performance had the 20-inch. And the service center told me it was the wheels. So originally when I bought that dual motor, the range on the website was 310 miles of range at 100% state of charge. I never saw, I think I saw 305 once when I picked up the car, and then there was an update, I think that night or the night after, and then I was seeing 297, 298, and then it dropped even more to like 280 something. Eventually I think it settled at about 279 miles of range when it should have been 305. And so I made 2 service appointments. They contacted me, and the tech said, that's pretty normal. You're not going to get 305 because you have the 20-inch wheels. Just use the percent state of charge display. Don't use the miles miles of range at the display, because it's not going to be accurate. Well, I'm thinking, well, why do you advertise 310 if I'm going to get 275? But that was their explanation. I just accepted that, figured, oh well, I guess that's my fault for getting a Performance instead of another dual motor. It is quicker, heavier wheels. Okay, I just dealt with it. So I charge to 90%. I rarely charge to 100%. I don't really need to do that. Although I drive long distance, my office is 125 miles away each way. So that particular car, instead of 310, I was getting 275 miles of range. So I lost, 35 miles of range right off the top. Stated range. Oh, Roadrunner. There's a Roadrunner out there. Oh, shoot. Focus. Cool. So cool. I feel like the dogging up. Squirrel. Yeah, so I lost 35 miles of range right off the top because I guess the 20-inch wheels. And then I never actually got the kind of range that the display would show. And this is pretty standard for Tesla. The dual motor, Model 3 Performance, and this Model S dual motor is no exception. It's the same. In fact, it's worse, and we'll get to those numbers in a bit. So on that Model 3 Performance, I was supposed to get 210. I saw 275 max at 100% state of charge. Instead, I charged to 90%, so I was seeing about 250, 251, 253 miles on a 90% charge. And if I did my 125 mile drive, I would use up roughly 165 miles of range on that 125 mile drive. And that's 5 miles over the speed limit. Pin it at about 70, let autopilot do its job. So off the top, I'm losing 40 miles there, 165 miles of range used on a 125 mile drive, so I'm losing 40. Instead of 310, I'm getting 270 something miles of range, so I'm losing another 35 miles there. So that's 75 miles of range lost right there. And that's not even using the entire range, because if I did, I'd have a similar loss for the remainder that I had on the charge. So it'd be greater than that. So these numbers are wildly inaccurate. They're top 100% state of charge, maximum range mile of 310. For me, was significantly lower. So right off the top, even without using all of it, it's more like 240 miles of range. And I would imagine if I use the remaining 85 miles of range on that charge, I would probably not get 240. I'd probably get more like 220-ish maybe instead of 310. So that's really bad that they do that. I wish Tesla would be more accurate in their sales numbers, their range numbers. For example, Ford with the pickup, the electric pickup, they state 300 miles of range, and by all accounts, you will get that and more if you have that truck. That 300 miles of range is based on 1,000 pounds of payload being in the truck. Because obviously, if they told you you're going to get 300 and you put 1,000 miles of payload in the back and you get 200, people are going to be pissed. But actually, they rated at 300 with 1,000 pounds of payload. And if you don't have anything back there, you're going to get better than 300. And that's what they're saying. You will get better than 300 miles of range on that truck. I think most of the EV manufacturers are fairly accurate. I had a Chevy Volt for a bit. It did 43 miles on pure EV before the generator kicked in to provide power so the car can run. It did about 43 miles before the generator kicked in. It was eerily accurate. And this is insanely inaccurate. So let's get to the Model S. So the Model S I bought because it said 405 miles of range. So compared to the 310 that the Model 3 Performance showed, I was thinking, whoa, another 95 miles, that's going to be awesome. Especially because I was losing all of that range off the top and during my 125 mile drive. This car is no different. It says 405. At full charge, I'm getting 377. Why? I don't know. It says 405. I'm assuming it's because I got the 21-inch wheels. I'm assuming that the stock wheels will give you 405. Don't quote me on that. But if you get the 21-inch wheels, you're going to get about 377 miles of range at 100% state of charge. You will not get 405. So remember that. They didn't put that on the website with an asterisk, but they should. On top of that, you will not get 377 miles of range because you're not going to get 377 miles driving this car. Similar to the Model 3 Performance, when I do my 125 mile drive, I'm using 175 miles of range on a 125 mile drive. So I have 50 miles of range loss there. I have roughly 30 miles of range loss off the top. So that's 80 miles of range loss there. I'm finishing my drive with 103 miles. So anyways, I'm losing a similar amount, and it's reflecting this. 351 watt hours per mile versus 341 watt hours per mile in the Model 3 Performance. So it roughly correlates. The two cars are getting similar results. I'm using more energy in this car because, again, 21-inch wheels versus 20-inch wheels, heavier car, larger battery pack, so the car in general is heavier, it's bigger. That's about what I would expect. 351, because I got about 340 with the Model 3 Performance, 320 with the Model 3 dual motor, and that had the 19-inch wheels. So I wish Tesla would use accurate numbers, but they don't, and they won't. They just tell you to flip it to percentage instead of range, miles of range. So just expect that. If you guys are expecting 405, you won't get it. If you get the 21-inch wheels, you won't get it. You'll get 377 displayed. You won't actually even get 377. So it's safe to say that this is probably a 275, 290 mile of range car at 100%. that would be my estimate. My last trip where I used almost the entire charge, I don't think I got that. But that was quite a bit of traffic driving and things like that. So that may have something to do with it, because you're sitting idling with the air conditioner running. Not really idling, but sitting in traffic with air conditioner running. So don't plan on 405. Okay, that's the moral of the story. Don't plan on 405. Okay, outside of that, the car is insanely good no matter what this range stuff means to me. It doesn't really matter. It works for my needs. I just have to charge more often than the displayed range would seem to make you think. I've been driving my Raptor for the last week, so I got in this car specifically to make this video, and my overwhelming feeling as I drove this car for the first time in a week is that it is insanely quiet. I cannot imagine how quiet this is going to be when the noise cancellation is finally activated. If you guys didn't catch it in my video, these cars are being shipped without noise cancellation being active. Sirius satellite radio is not active. The tilting screen is not active. All of those things are slated to be added eventually. When, I don't know. Hopefully it's not like FSD, where I've paid for it 3 times now because they said it's eminently going to be, imminent release, and it's never gotten released, and now it's in beta testing. But it's insanely quiet, way more quiet than the Model 3 ever was or will be. Super comfortable. It just does everything so well. I really love this car. It's a fantastic car. It's way quieter than my wife's 2018 S560 that we recently got rid of. It's way more comfortable to me. It drives better. Just the immediacy of the torque and everything. That car really is not worth the money. That car had an MSRP of $123 because it was fairly high optioned for an S560, and I just don't think it's worth it compared to this car. This car is better in most ways. I wish it had the reclining seats in the back. That car had the reclining seats in the back with the footrest that come up. This car doesn't have reclining seats, but the seats are still very comfortable in the back. Okay, anyways, maybe I'll be a little quicker on the next video. I'm sorry about the delay. It's just been real busy. I'm redoing my office and moving it to another location, so I got real busy. Hopefully these range numbers will help you decide whether this car is right for you. But do not ever expect to see 405 miles out of this car, ever, especially if you get the 21-inch wheels. Okay, bye.